Hello everyone. Let us talk about Naxalism. Naxalism is again in news due to a recent incident that happened in the Sukma district of Chhattisgarh. Some security personnel were killed and many of them were injured and because of an attack that was done by the PLGA, that is the People's Liberation Guerrilla Army. So the PLGA was founded in 2000, in the year 2000, and since then it has been attacking the security personnel, and it is fighting against the state to capture some power. But such things are really meaningless because because the state is strong, the state has power, and the state has right intentions also. But in the thirst of power, this organization, that is the PLGA, is doing a lot of bad deeds. So it was founded in 2000 year, and it is also a banned organization, and it is also recognized as a terrorist organization by the government. So the government is really clear in its stance that it cannot tolerate such organizations like PLGA, and it is also working aggressively about it, which we will talk. Uh, so the Sukma district itself has been in a lot of has contained some disturbances. There are a lot of disturbances there as we come because a large population there believe in left wing extremism. That is also called Maoism or Naxalism. So, what is Maoism and Naxalism? Maoism is a term which is used more worldwide. In worldwide, people recognize the left wing extremism as Maoism because of the Chinese leader which was Mao Zedong. So the communist ideology was spread in China. So them the from then the left wing extremism has also been recognized as Maoism throughout the world. And in Indian terms, if we talk about, then in India, the more common word is Naxalism. It is almost the same, that is the left wing extremism, but it originated in Naxalbari district of West Bengal. So in Naxalbari, there was a disturbance in there were some protests. There were some pro-communist protests because which demanded the redistribution of land and the equal distribution of land, so that so they were trying to promote the idea of communism and socialism. So from there, and the protests were violent, and some groupings were also built. So from there, the Naxalism started, and it spread in the eastern parts of the country. By eastern parts, I mean the eastern seven sister states, and also the states like Chhattisgarh and Odisha, and Jharkhand also. The Naxalism spread, and the places where it spread were the most least developed places, like the forest areas, like among the tribal people. Naxalism spread a lot. And so, what are the reasons of Naxalism? So, number one reason is the tribal discontent. The tribal people are not satisfied by the policies of the government because the government has taken many pro-capitalistic steps. Like there are many examples in which the forests were cut down and the tribal unrest started, and also like building dams and destroying the environment. So a lot of tribal dissatisfaction is there due to the activities done by the government. Another reason is that there is a lot of gap in the socio-economic society of India, where the tribal people are even today there are a lot of tribal communities present in India which are just striving to get their one-time food, and even and the case get worsened when the government gets involved and try to cut down the forest and do all the anti-environmental activities. And so this is a case, and there is also a case when very extremely rich people exist in the country. So again, there is a lot of dissatisfaction among the tribal people and also the people living in the least developed parts of the country. So they are very dissatisfied seeing this, that they lag behind so much, and the country is growing. There is a gap in the socio-economic status of the country, various people. So there is also an unrest due to this. Also, Also, there is also one of the reason is that the Maoist leaders, which believe in the ideology of communism and which are trying to overthrow the state and which are trying to overthrow the state and capture the power through insurgency. They are getting some easy targets that are the unaware and illiterate people, the population of tribals. So tribals are the most unaware uh, manpower present in the country, and so hence they are very easy targets for the Maoists. They can easily brainwash the tribal people, and they can easily use that manpower against the state to fight. So that is why also Naxalism is spreading in the country. Another thing is that the state's policy, if we many of the experts believe that till 2005 and till 2000s almost, when uh, the state stance was not clear that how to deal with the issue of Naxalism. If Because there were two scenarios. Number one, the government should see it as a social issue because the people within the country are getting diverted and they are being radical, or the government should see it as a security threat because there are fatalities on the so, a lot of fatalities with the security personnel and sometimes the civilians as well, and the lack of plans were there about there was a lot of lack of plans. That is why the seed of Naxalism we started and it was able to grow as we see today. So, but the government did some steps and took some step, especially after 2010. The government took some step, and it has been successful so far to decrease the effect of Naxalism in the country. The number of insurgencies and the number of fatalities have decreased down very with a huge number, and that is possible due to the steps taken by the government. So the number one step that the government took was in 1989. It formed it formed a special anti-Naxal force, which was named as the Greyhound. Another thing that the government did was Operation Green Hunt in 2009 and 10, which 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 used to which was very anti-Naxal groups. The Naxalites were caught, and a lot of security personnel got involved in it, uh, and they worked in eradicating the Naxalism from the least developed areas. Another thing that the government did was the government introduced the LWE Mobile Project Tower Scheme in 2014. So as LWE stands for left wing extremists, so it basically what was done that the mobile connectivity in the LWE affected areas, which are the Naxal areas. In those Naxal areas, the mobile connectivity was increased so that the tribal people and the people who are potential targets by the Naxal groups gets connected with the real world, and they become aware, and also they don't get themselves involved in such Naxal activities. Another thing that the government did was in 2018 that it launched an aspirational district program in which it made a list of the districts like Sukma district in Chhattisgarh, which were the most affected district of Naxalism, and government allocated some funds to get funds and the ideas and the framework. The government provided the framework and the fund for the development of these districts as well. And the government is working on uh, on a program called Samadhan, which will deal in eradicating Naxalism in the short term and in the long term as well, and it involves the whole plan. But what is the way ahead? I think the government is taking some nice steps, and it has been successful so far. So it should continue. It's all job that it is doing, and also one or two things that the government can uh, further take into its policy is number one, the central state relations. We have seen in that in the northeast area, and that in the northeast area the government, the central government is having a lot of disputes with the state governments, and also the state governments are having a lot of disputes in themselves. So it is very important for the governments to get all these issues resolved, so that they will be able to work with each other, and they can eventually eradicate Naxalism. Another thing is that to minimize the fatalities with the security personnel who are involved in uh, the war against Naxalism. The for some technologies can also be employed, like drones can be used for looking at what all is happening in the forest areas where the Naxalites are operating, and so this will definitely decrease the number of fatalities. The number of security persons in danger will decrease. So technology can be used. Also, another thing which is the most crucial thing is that the development and education should reach in the far-fetched areas, like the areas where the tribal people reside and where the Naxalism is rising. So in those areas, development should reach and education should reach, so that the people become more aware, the people become more involved in activities, in the economic activities of the country, and they themselves will not get any time for these idle activities like Naxalism, and they will also be connected with the real India. And if the development reaches, then there will be a lot of connectivity. The people will Some tourism will start, because the northeast it has a lot of potential of tourism also. So the overall connectivity will increase, and hence the Naxalism will decrease. So that was about Naxalism in India. Thank you very much.